The Bruen ruling continues to create waves in a lot of anti-gun blue states. Not all of them. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms for your NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you like my content and like my channel, and if you would like to support this channel, you could do so in the links below. Everything is appreciated. And let's talk about this. Now, I came across this interesting article. This is, they're talking about New Mexico State. And New Mexico State is hesitant on pushing any new gun control laws because of the Bruen ruling. You notice when my opening intro, I said, not all, because some states are doubling down, such as Connecticut. Knowing Bruen is out there, and Bruen has been the foundation for a lot of anti-gun laws to be overturned. Vanderstock versus Garland, the armed race rule, NAGR. There's a lot of cases that have been put up before the court that have been struck down these laws because specifically of Bruen. Bruen is mentioned numerous times. Some states are getting the point and saying, you know, maybe we should hold off a little bit and not pass any gun control laws until we understand what's going on in the landscape. Some states are just basically saying, no, we're going to double down because we can use the taxpayers' money to defend ourselves. I don't need to mention any names, but I'm going to come over here to this. And then just realize this article is from the Huffington Post, so you're going to get a slant, but it still covers the point. How the Supreme Court ruling is already affecting gun reform in a blue state. New Mexico's State Judiciary Committee gathered recently to figure out how much latitude they had to regulate guns after last year's bombshell Second Amendment ruling from the Supreme Court. Isn't it amazing that a ruling that supports in support of the Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights is a bombshell? But most sounded confused. Some seemed unaware that the laws they passed might not hold up in court if similar regulation hadn't been on the books in the 18th century. Okay. That's kind of a strange way of putting it, but like I said, this is the Huffington Post. Now, just realize that this person is saying that if a regulation did not exist in the 1800s, it cannot apply today, as this person's writing an article on the internet using the First Amendment in a digital age, which could not have been on the books in the 18th century. But, hey, none of my business, right? But one lawmaker called the ruling mind-boggling. Another asked whether their authority was now limited to regulating firearms, where you have to manually load the gunpowder. New Mexico's legislative session last month opened with gun reform high on their agenda after a string of politically motivated shootings at the home of Democrat legislators in Albuquerque. Now, just remember, 2 Republican government members were shot and killed in New Jersey, assassinated. You know, but they only want to push gun control when a Democrat is the center of the attention of the violence. Once again, not my business, right? Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham called for a series of firearm restrictions, including assault weapons ban, which had nothing to do with the attacks on these Democrats. But once again, in her state of state speech in January. But with a week to go before the session ends, lawmakers are cautiously approaching gun bills and are wary of passing laws that will run afoul of the Supreme Court that has taken a firm stance on the side of gun rights, as if that's some kind of strange alien thing. But the legislature is likely to pass some gun reform before the session ends, but lawmakers say an assault weapons ban would be unlikely to hold up in court, and they're uncertain about a proposal to raise the age to buy some types of firearms from 18 to 21. Quote, what I hope we don't do is lead the public into believing we're doing something, knowing full well that what we're doing is unlikely to really have an effect. Well, gun bans in general don't have an effect on crime. So every gun ban you pass is you're not doing anything. But Joseph Cervantes, The the state Senate Judiciary Committee chairman said at the hearing last month, I think that's a disservice to people. Okay, these are the same people who are, and I'm going to do another video on that because I was stunned. Washington D.C. and then I'm going to track it down and look it up. Another state just are trying to pass laws that reduces the mandatory sentencing for violent crime, including murder. One state is actually saying you can't be charged with felony murder if you're under the age of 25. So if you're 20 and you kill someone maliciously, you cannot be charged with a felony, which means your punishment will probably be minuscule. I'm going to do a video on that because it's just another reflection of, once again, the moral decline of this country in general, society, and these idiots that people keep re-electing. But not to segue, but yeah. But they always pass laws that have nothing to do with crime. They pass bans and then expect criminals to follow along. And but the flagging reform pushed in New Mexico highlights how the Supreme Court's decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen, which overturned a narrow provision of New York's concealed carry law, isn't just overturning gun restrictions, it is also blocking them from passing in the first place. Good. Quote, that Bruen ruling is going to hurt us for decades to come, said Miranda Viscoli, Vice President of New Mexicans to Prevent Gun Violence. It's going to be the excuse for every conservative Democrat who doesn't want to pass common sense gun laws. And they always, here's that gaslighting common sense. What do? Do they send out emails and flyers to each other? These are your key words to use today. Common sense. You know, gun control has nothing to do with crime. And this person, I guarantee you, is another person who will sit around saying, oh, we need to reduce the mandatory sentences for violent crimes. But then tells you that gun control is somehow the answer to gun violence. These people are on another planet, man. They truly are. But the majority opinion authored by Justice Clarence Thomas directed the federal gun courts to stop considering state government safety concerns when weighing the constitutionality of gun restrictions, which is, at its base, that's the fact of the matter. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to violate the Constitution for safety. There's the famous saying, those who give up, liberty for safety deserve neither. Okay? But instead, judges should examine the Second Amendment's text alone to judge whether a gun restriction violates the Constitution. The major exception Thomas envisioned was gun restrictions was a historical precedent, ideally those dating back to the passage of the Bill of Rights in 1791. The Supreme Court then sent 4 gun cases back to the lower courts to try again. The cases, which have yet to be decided, cover magazine restrictions in California and New York, an assault weapon ban in Maryland, and concealed carry rules in Hawaii, raising the possibility that the courts will soon overturn several other key reform laws common to blue states, and good for them. Facing a more conservative Supreme Court, some Democrat-led states like New York and California have pushed still harder on gun restrictions. You can put Connecticut in there too, pointing out that states with more gun control typically also have lower rates of gun violence and fewer mass shootings. Yeah, but they still have violent crime and people are still losing their lives. That is such an apple and orange comparison. We have fewer guns. England has fewer guns, yet their violent crime rate is in the skyrocketing, and it actually outpaces America per capita. So don't tell me this is about guns. But while Democrats dominate both chambers of the New Mexico legislature and hold the governorship, guns remain popular in the sparsely populated and largely rural state. So it was a tall order when Lou John Grisham demanded a comprehensive gun reform package topped with an assault weapons ban, even for the chilling effect. Remember, this is the Huffington Post. Chilling effect from Bruen. However, a bill holding adults responsible for letting their firearms get in the kids' hands is likely to pass. I don't have a problem with that. Lock your damn guns up. Come on, man. It's common sense. Don't nobody jump in and say, I'm not with you on that. Come on. Lock up your guns. But I don't want the government regulating how you lock up your guns. You should do that anyway. You don't need the government to hold your hand for that. Another requiring a 14-day waiting period for gun purchases may squeak through, which I disagree with. And a bill increasing liability for gun manufacturers also still has a chance, which I absolutely do not agree with. You can't hold somebody responsible for the actions of a person using your illegal product. Just as much as we would not drag the SUV manufacturer into court over what happened in Waukesha. Just as we wouldn't drag K-Bar into court over what happened to the 4 Idaho students. So this whole nonsense of holding gun manufacturers responsible is once again, it's gaslighting to start with, but it's also disingenuous and quite honestly ignorant. But Lou John Grisham, for her part, has refused to admit defeat on the assault weapons ban, hinting last week during a speech to a group of school children at the possibility of calling a special session to push it through. The New Mexico legislature typically meets once every other year for 2.5 months. Quote, how many of you have a constitutional right to be safe at school? Lou John Grisham asked kids. I think we have that right too. Thank you, Lou John Grisham, for being an idiot, okay? So, I could get into that. I could spend hours talking about just that one statement right there. But there's the point of the matter. Bruen has set the foundation for a lot of these unconstitutional gun laws to be overturned. And these people are panicking. California, New York, and specifically Connecticut, because we got Governor's Bill 6667. That's coming up, which is another basic across-the-board ban with a whole lot of other ridiculous things being thrown in to make it harder for people who follow the law to actually get their permit. Now, I had a little, not even go back and forth with the guy, but he said that I was on my own when it came to the permitting system, and I want to answer that. I said I was not against the permitting system, and I'm not. But the permitting system in Connecticut is being used as a crutch against the law-abiding people. It should not take 8 weeks to get a proof of permit. It should take 24 hours. It shouldn't even take that, because the same background check that they do on you when you apply for your permit is the same background check that they do on you when you go into the gun store to actually buy something. The NYSRPA system is exactly the same thing we're using. So it shouldn't take 8 weeks. I'm against that part of it, but I'm not against the permitting system. People should be vetted. I don't want violent people having access to firearms. Common sense, once again. I'm sure some people are jumping up and down, saying I agree with you, but I don't want I don't want you involved in this either. I don't want your praise. There has to be a level of common sense on our own. I am not against the permitting system, but I am against the length of time that Connecticut takes to approve a permit. And all the rules that they, the training and everything else. And now they want to expand the training. So I want to make that clear up front. So let's get back here. Bruen is going to be the crutch of every judgment on the Second Amendment going forward. And that really puts us in great shape. But unfortunately, states like Connecticut continue to push the envelope and continue to push for more and more gun control, because they know that the process, to go through the courts is years. It takes years because it's such an inefficient system. And when it comes down to the finances, the state uses your money to defend itself while the plaintiffs have to use their money. That's why they do this, because they, in their minds, they have an unlimited supply of finances to get them through any court case. Once again, I mentioned in another video of a civil suit against, say, to prevent them from using specifically my tax dollars to defend themselves specifically on cases where I don't agree with, such as the assault weapons ban case and the pistol brace rules and so forth and so on. But I mentioned that before. But this is very interesting. Some states are taking a pause. Others are just kind of doubling down. But it is what it is. But Bruen has definitely set the mark for this. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.